absolutely ridiculous. They'll believe anything. They'll believe anything. Right, we're back, everybody. Nice to see you, Abby.
Yes.
Right, well, welcome back to the Mei Xiangfa channel, and we're going to start today with a very important question, and it's to do with Abby.
Right. You're
Abby?
going to ask me something.
I'm going to ask you an important question.
Right.
How much do you value your fingers?
My fingers? Absolutely very important, right?
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Don't you value your fingers?
I do, but
I can do many things, right?
Sure. So have you ever thought of insuring your
Computer.
fingers?
Huh?
Have you ever thought of getting some insurance? How do you say 保险 in Chinese?
Oh, I haven't saw that, but it's a good idea.
Yeah.
And you know, like a pianist, they will put some insurance on their fingers.
Yes.
Because
and,
that's the way they earn money, right?
Sure. Same as Jennifer Lopez insured her ass in the past, right?
Incredible.
Okay. But anyway, all jokes aside, we're going somewhere with this, which is, you know, for somebody like Abby who types on her computer a lot,
Yes.
you know, her fingers are really, really important. That's how she earns money.
Yes.
But what about sports people?
Oh, sports people? I think like whole body.
Sure.
Their health condition, their body muscles should be all at the better situation. I think.
Sure. And if something happens to their bodies, it's a big problem, right? Because then they've spent a lot of time learning their sport, and if now they can't perform it, they're not going to earn any money.
Yeah, if they couldn't play the game or they couldn't get like say better performance, it will hurt their career.
Sure, it might even stop their careers.
Yes.
Sure. And then they haven't really worked on anything else. And on top of that, just being a professional sports person, especially in like a contact kind of sport, you only have 10 to 15 years before you're too old and they won't pick you for the teams anymore.
Yeah, their career life is not longer than others. So they have to be really focused on the time.
Sure. They've really got to take care of their bodies. So I think for them, they take their health pretty seriously, right?
Yes.
Sure.
Sure.
So have you ever heard of a guy called Aaron Rodgers?
No, not ring a bell.
Okay, so Aaron Rodgers is a guy in America. He plays American football. How do you say that in Chinese?
Football, I mean 橄榄球.
Yeah, 橄榄球, right?
The boys.
So he's actually a quarterback, and he's the most valuable player in the league at the moment. MVP, correct. And I think, you know, quarterback, that's the guy that throws the ball. He kind of controls the game and controls the play.
Very important position.
Very important. And that's for the Green Bay Packers. Okay. So the reason that I wanted to talk about sports people is, have you seen any of the news recently? think there have been quite a few sports people that have kind of collapsed while they were playing their sport.
Oh, I don't know. I don't really know. I've heard a little bit, but I don't remember all of their names.
So this is just a small piece of a longer document, and these are just links to different websites. And you can see if we just the first one here is this. So it's a cricketer, and he died after having a heart attack. And I think a lot of the sports people have had heart problems.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, look, for us, we're not here to say why these people have had heart problems. Obviously, a lot of people have speculated, but that's not the point of what we're talking about today. What I want to talk about is this guy, Aaron Rodgers, and I'm going to try and play a few clips because recently he's been in the news. Okay. And not for what you'd want. He's been in the news for a health reason rather than for playing sport. Okay. So what actually happened to this guy is a while ago he was asked if he'd been vaccinated, and he gave a strange answer. He said yes, he'd been immunized.
Oh, what does the immunize mean,
immunized from the word immunity. So
you're prepared to fight with the virus?
Yeah, so he was doing something a little bit different. He didn't actually get vaccinated, but he said that at the time people were really pointing out different people who, you know, hadn't had the vaccine.
Okay.
So he used this word immunized, I think, to get the attention off of him for that.
Get rid of the attention.
Yeah. So he's actually, he said he was allergic to some of the ingredients in the mRNA vaccine, so he couldn't actually have some of the vaccines.
He said that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so he said that, and because of that, I think that's why he used that wording. And I think people just assumed that meant he was vaccinated, and they left it.
Because it's vague, so people assume.
People assumed,
every
yes. And then
athlete
he let them have that assumption, right?
Okay.
So then, if we come up to recently, this guy got COVID.
Uh-oh.
And when he got COVID, people started asking questions, and now they're saying he lied. And yeah, so what I wanted to do today is just to show people a few clips. I want people to listen to this guy talk. I want you to see what you think of him, how he speaks, you know, what kind of person he is. And then after that, we can have a look and see what the media has been saying about him, and we'll see if people agree.
Okay.
Okay. So let's have a look. This is the first clip that I want to show people. And yeah, I'm just going to watch for a minute or two. Just let him tell his side of the story.
Okay. Aaron is the guy in the middle.
The guy in the middle of the clip.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is actually a clip from YouTube. He's been going on this show quite regularly, even before this recent problem that's happened. He's just been going on and talking to them about just his life and what he thinks. And I think people have said that, you know, they've learned quite a lot about him just by watching him speak. And that's what I hope we can do today. Just learn a little bit about him and see what you
know
think.
him better?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so let's have a listen.
I'm not, some sort of anti-vax flat earther. I am somebody who's a critical thinker. You guys know me. I march to the beat of my own drum. I believe strongly in bodily autonomy and the ability to make choices for your body, not to have to acquiesce to some woke culture or crazed, group of individuals who say you have to do something. Health is not a one-size-fits-all for everybody. And for me, it involved a lot of study in the off-season, much like the study I put into hosting Jeopardy or the weekly study I put into playing a game. I put a lot of time and energy and research and met with a lot of different people in the medical field to get the most information about the vaccines before making a decision. And in actuality, it was pretty easy in the beginning to eliminate two of them. And it didn't involve going into the questionable history of some of their criminal activities and fraud cases or any of that stuff. It was simply the fact that I have an allergy to an ingredient that's in the mRNA vaccines.
That's what I
so on the CDC's own website, it says, should you have an allergy to any of the ingredients, you should not get one of the mRNA vaccines. So those two were out already. So my only option was Johnson & Johnson. At this time, in the early spring, I had heard of multiple people who had adverse events around getting the J&J. Nothing that was no deaths or anything, but just some really difficult times and physical abnormalities around the J&J shot. And then in mid-April, the J&J shot got pulled for clotting issues, if you remember that, right? So the J&J shot was not even an option at that point. So then my options became, okay, what can I do to protect myself and my teammates if there's not one of the big three options for me in my own body? And so I looked into and talked again to a lot of medical individuals and professionals and found that there was an immunization protocol that I could go to best protect myself and my teammates. And it was a long-term protocol that involved, multiple months. And I'm very, proud of the research that went into that, the individuals that I met with, and we felt like it was what was best for me. It was not, again, something that the league didn't know about. The league was fully aware of it upon my return.
Okay, so I'm just going to leave it there for now. What do you think when you see this guy? You've never heard about him before. I don't think many people in Taiwan have. So what did you think of him, just listening to him talk?
I think he tried to do the due diligence. He tried to do the research about the vaccine, see if they're suitable for him.
Okay, so he seems like well researched.
Well researched. Ask for the doctor, and think about his teammates.
Yeah, he did. He talked about his teammates. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he could do some research.
Okay. And he seemed to be, to me, like a pretty calm guy. Doesn't seem to be
crazy
at all.
Angry. No.
Sure. So he seemed pretty good guy. cares about his teammates, did a lot of research.
Yes.
So he couldn't have the two mRNA vaccines, and the only one left was Johnson & Johnson. He had some concerns. And then later on, that Johnson & Johnson, he said, was pulled. So he was actually right, maybe, for him, according to his logic. He seems to be right in not wanting to have that one.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we're not making any comments about vaccines, what anybody should or shouldn't do. We're just talking purely about what this guy did in our opinions. So please understand that. Okay, so it seems to me that, what he did is seems to be a pretty good thing, right? I mean, as you said, like he was, caring about his teammates and trying to do the right thing for his teammates, trying to find what worked for him, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, I did a little bit of research and listened to this because I don't want to play the entire thing for people. But when he said that he had these like protocols of the things that he did, it's actually quite interesting. So I wanted to just read. I wrote some of them down. So because he did this different approach, you heard him say there that his team knew all about it. So he wasn't doing anything
He didn't hide.
secret. And when you hear what he went through, it's actually pretty interesting. So he had to wear a mask at all times, even when he was at the podium with the microphone talking to the media.
Okay.
What he said there is, for him, that didn't seem to make sense because everyone else in the room were all vaccinated. He was the only one not. And he says he didn't really understand the logic of that. But on top of that, he got tested every single day. Every day.
Oh, every day.
He had to get tested. So to do this different way, because he couldn't have the other vaccine, so to do this, he had to get tested every day.
Okay.
Compared to the vaxxed players, every 14 days.
Mm-hmm.
So he went through a lot more testing, way more testing than his teammates.
Mm-hmm.
On the game days,
Yes.
he'd have to get tested at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Okay.
Plus, he said that when he arrived at the stadium, the place where they play, like he'd have to get tested and then wait 45 minutes or something like that to go in, whereas the vax people could just go straight in.
Mm-hmm.
He had to keep physical distance from his teammates.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't allowed to leave his hotel when they traveled. He had to get tested before all the flights. He had to work out separately to all his teammates. And he had to wear a mask while working out. So this is a professional sports person who was wearing a mask while he worked out. He couldn't use the sauna. He couldn't use the steam room. He also had to wear a special yellow band around his wrist at all times.
Yellow band?
Yeah. So
to tell people he's not vaccinated?
Yep, he had to wear that.
Okay.
And he said that, like he'd have, something about like 2 to 10, when he got COVID, like he had to take 10 days off.
What does that mean?
He had to take 10 days like vacation. You had to stay at home for 10 days.
Okay.
Whereas he said if you were vaccinated, if you got 2 tests in a row that showed you were negative, you were out of quarantine. But for him, he had extra long quarantine compared to anybody else.
Okay.
So I think that listening to him, what he was trying to say was just that he was going down a different road and his team knew all about it. And I don't think they actually ever completely accepted it. And that's why he had to go through all these extra measures. So it was much more difficult for him than for the other people.
But he followed every rule.
But he followed all those rules. And he told the people he was with, his teammates knew, his team knew, everybody knew, right?
Okay.
Okay. So there, I just wanted to explain that to people rather than listen to him.
Right.
So he also had another concern that I want to just play for you quickly so you can see it, right? So just listen to this one.
Okay.
Let's see.
My desire to immunize myself was what was best for my body, and that's why this is so important to me. My medical team advised me that the danger I would be in to get of an adverse event was greater than the risk of getting COVID and recovering. So I made a decision that was in the best interest of my body. I'm not telling somebody to not get vaccinated or to get vaccinated. I think you should do what's in the best interest of your body. If you're scared of COVID, or if you have comorbidities, then getting vaccinated is probably in your best option. But if you have immunocompromised system, or if you have pre-existing conditions, then make the decision that's in your best interest. And that's what I did. I made the decision that was in my best interest. And the other part to it is that, and I've talked about this on, I think, on the show before, but the next great chapter in my life, I believe, is being a father. And it's something that I care about a lot. And to my knowledge, there's been 0 long-term studies around sterility or fertility issues around the vaccines. So that was definitely something that I was worried about. And that went through my mind. Now, obviously, having an allergy to an ingredient took me off of being able to take the mRNA anyway. But that, even if I didn't have that, that would be something that would give me a little bit of pause, because we don't know what the long-term effects of these are. There's still clinical trials going on through 2023. So to just like, when people just say, oh, just get the jab, just get the jab. Well, first of all, everybody's body is different, number one. And second of all, there's a lot of things we don't know about this. So that's just one thing I really want to stress there. And again,
okay, so let me pause it there. So again, to me, I don't know about for you, he seems like a pretty logical, reasonable guy.
Yes, do his analysis.
Sure. And what did he say there? He said that for him, one of his concerns was having kids later, the next chapter of his life. And for him, he was worried because of the lack of long-term studies. Now, again, we're not saying that this is our opinion or we're telling anybody this, but that was his opinion. And he said what? He was trying to do what was right for his situation, and what's right for him is not the same as for anybody else. So what do you think about that?
Okay. I think he has every reasons behind his decision. Like, he's not just follow others, but he think about himself.
Okay.
Right. So I think it's reasonable.
Sure, I mean, isn't health supposed to be a personal thing with you and your doctor, because we're all so different, right?
Yeah, everyone is different and is individual. So when it suits for other one doesn't mean it suits for you. So so that's why he said he asked his doctor, he consulted, he do the consulting, and he did the consulting, and then combine of this information, he made this decision. So I think it's respect him, like, doing this. And I don't think it really hurts other people, because he follow all the restriction, and I think if people are really scared, they probably already get vaccine. So
sure. So he was just doing what seemed to be the best thing for him and what his beliefs were, and he let the people know where he was working.
What he's thinking, what he's working.
So the only kind of lie that he told was just when the media asked him. But I don't want to speak for him, but I guess that it's watching this video, for him to explain this took a while. So I'm not sure if somebody asks you a quick yes or no question, will yes or no really be able to give the true
I think
whole
he
story?
answered like a vague one.
Yeah.
Try to
Just
avoid
to
attention.
To avoid the attention, sure.
Yes.
So is it a lie? Yeah. But I do understand, for me personally, and maybe other people disagree, but I kind of get why he did that. So, okay. Right, then later on in this interview, this is just a quick one, he said that he had some questions for the people who are questioning him. And this is just what those are. So have a quick look.
So this idea that it's the pandemic of the unvaccinated is just a total lie. And I go back to like these two questions for the, for this woke mob. Like, number one, if the vaccine is so great, then how come people are still getting COVID and spreading COVID and unfortunately dying from COVID? Like, if the vaccine is so safe, then how come the manufacturers of the vaccine have full immunity? So let's just step back and realize, like, this vaccine is revolutionary, the things that they're doing. However, we don't know a whole lot about it. And to just say that it's a blanket for all that ails you, in my opinion, is wrong and reckless. And for the media out there taking shots at me, like, you don't know my story, now you do. So quit lying about me. And personal health decisions, in my opinion, should be private. And they shouldn't have to be like gone through the ringer and over scrutinized by, people who are just pushing their own type of propaganda on the people and ideals. You want to have a conversation about it? I'm more than willing to have a conversation about it.
Okay. So you can see there, I mean, what is your opinion of that, right? Like, I mean, those two questions.
Those two questions?
So the first one was, I think he said, like, if the vaccines are really that good, why are people still getting it, spreading it, and sadly some people dying?
Right.
Like, again, we're not giving our opinions on that question, but it seems to be that that's a valid question. Like, I think I know a lot of other people who have that same question, right?
It's just, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just people, like, I think people all think about that, but it just didn't, like, talk about it. Like
well, possibly it's not safe to really talk about it in today's world, right? But I mean, because he's a guy with a big platform, he's a famous sports person, he's able to ask these questions.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was that. I mean, and again, I think what else he was talking about there was that health should be this private thing. You shouldn't have to justify your health decisions to other people. I kind of think that that's also, again, a valid point of his. I'm not saying it's mine or anybody else's, but for him, that seems rational to me. He doesn't seem to be some crazy guy at all, right?
Yeah, unless I think he think about if he get vaccine, what will happen? Like he try to like play two sides of the situation.
Sure. So there's something that I haven't yet told you though. So
Okay.
once he got COVID, guess what he did?
He get vaccine? No,
No,
way.
he didn't get the vaccine, but he talked to somebody. He talked to somebody that I think that Tim Pool also talked to. So it was like,
Talk with Tim Pool?
no, not Tim Pool. Who did he talk to? The person Tim Pool talked to when Tim Pool got it. Our good friend, the guy that was in the news a lot, the guy who recovered from COVID like really quickly.
Oh,
yeah,
the one.
there we go.
Okay. Joe Rogan?
He talked to Joe Rogan, and you can imagine that the media went pretty crazy about that, right? Because
they talking in public?
no, because he got advice from Joe Rogan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's the last one I want to show you is just him talking about what he did once he got COVID. So if you guys can see the last one here.
And
Let's see.
I made a choice that was in my best interest. You might respect it, you might hate it, but I bet you the same people that hate it are the same people that are really going to hate the fact that I'm 48 hours in, and I consulted with a now good friend of mine, Joe Rogan, after he got COVID, and I've been doing a lot of the stuff that he recommended in his podcasts and, on the phone to me, and I'm going to have the best immunity possible now based on the 2.5 million person study from Israel that the people who get COVID and recover have the most robust immunity. And I'm thankful for people like Joe stepping up and using their voice. I'm thankful for my medical squad. And I'm thankful for all the love and support I've gotten. But I've been taking monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin, zinc, vitamin C and D, HCQ, and I feel pretty incredible.
Right. So again, we're not saying what he did was right or wrong or anybody else should follow him. We're just discussing what he said. So interesting, right? 40 hours. There's less than 2 days, and he said he's feeling pretty good.
Yeah,
Sure.
I've heard like Joe Rogan talk about the treatment.
And also happened pretty quickly, right?
Yeah.
And I think Tim Pool said like after he took the monoclonal antibodies that like 12 hours later he felt pretty good. Yeah. But again, we're not saying that these things work at all. We're just saying what other people have said, and it's interesting.
Just talk about their experience.
Yeah. And then I think he also talked about some study in Israel, which we haven't read, but he said like 2.5 million people saying that natural immunity was a better option. And he said he's going to have very strong immunity. So we don't know about that study. But again, he seems like a guy who reads a lot and
He's not
saw a study.
Not like a crazy person. Just listen to other people's and just I mean he did lots of research and asked people as doctor and friends and read the news and read some research and make his own decision. So
Great.
it's like
I agree.
Decent place.
So we're not judging what he did. We're just talking about what he did. We're not saying he's right or he's wrong. But like I said in the beginning, the point of this, and I hope that the people watching this have seen, like, maybe you'd agree with us, maybe you don't, but he seems like a pretty rational, educated, well-spoken guy. I don't see anything crazy when I watch this guy. What about you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, again, decent person. Right?
The reason to go through this is to now check what they've been saying about him in the news. And that's the point I wanted to make today. So let's watch a video, and here you're going to see some clips, it's like a minute or two long, of what people have been saying about this guy in the media. So have a look, Abby.
I can't even believe Aaron Rodgers did this, Skip. I have lost so much respect.
I'm ashamed of him right now.
I think we're seeing a very different side of Aaron Rodgers, and I think we're seeing a side of Aaron Rodgers that people are really, really disgusted by.
I'm making a decision that's based on what's best for me and my own health. And for me, it was a no-brainer.
He literally is sitting home because he might kill someone.
First, he endangers people's lives. Then he doesn't take responsibility and makes up some story. Then he blames the woke crowd. He should speak at the Republican convention.
The problem with this is it is so political, and health should not be political.
He gave this interview on Friday that was just so damaging, promoting conspiracy theories, attacking the cancel culture and the woke mob, saying how Joe Rogan was his expert analysis.
While he says he talks to Harvard MDs about stuff, it was Joe Rogan that really guided him. He took stuff that is for horses.
Ivermectin is a cattle dewormer. Sorry, folks, that's what it is.
The embarrassment was going to begin as soon as he pointed out Joe Rogan as one of his touchstones of his critical thinking.
I'm going to critically think about what's best for my own health. I'm not judging anybody else.
What we've got today with this interview is a public figure spreading misinformation.
Aaron Rodgers is comfortable sitting down for 50 minutes and spewing verbal diarrhea that we can all react to.
It is a devastating prospect, the ramifications of what this guy is doing and what he's saying. He sounds like a crackpot.
Have they talked about exercise, a healthy diet, like eating real food, drinking water, taking vitamins, vitamin D deficiency and what that causes in the body? No, there hasn't been any of that.
I think that was a rant that went off the rails several times, divorced from reality at almost every turn.
You came across as a national embarrassment.
Do you think Aaron Rodgers set the dumb jock stereotype back?
I'm going to have the best immunity possible now, based on the 2.5 million person study from Israel, that people who get COVID and recover have the most robust immunity.
For him to perpetuate that, I guess it just shows us that he doesn't care.
I'm an athlete. I'm not an activist. So I'm going to get back to doing what I do best. And that's playing ball.
All right. So, do the two match up for you?
I had to say, media is like shark.
Yeah.
They are really, they smell the blood, then they go for it.
Yeah, like a shark.
Crazy,
right? Yeah.
it's a crazy art.
Now, this word, rent.
Rent.
Okay, I'm showing it to you because I want you to see the Chinese. What does it mean to you?
咆哮. It's like say loudly and strong
and crazily.
Crazily.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they described him. Now, we watched bits of his video today. I try to show them to people. Is that how you would describe what he did?
No. It's like, he speaks like very gentle and slowly to deliver his idea to those hosters. So, no, for me, it's like
right?
It's really different,
and
right?
he's a national embarrassment, and he's spreading medical misinformation.
No, I don't think he spread any
didn't once hear him say anybody else should do it. All I heard him say was, do what's right for you, and what's right for you is different to what's right for me.
And I didn't think he he didn't deny vaccine, right?
No, I didn't hear him do that.
He just think everyone should do the best benefit for themselves.
Sure. And he's a guy who couldn't have the vaccine because he says he's allergic.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And then he, as we said, he went through a lot of extra testing, extra everything, because he was doing it a different way. And I don't think anybody ever heard him complain about doing that. But, he realized he was doing it a different way, and there were all these extra things he would need to do, and he wasn't complaining.
Mm-hmm.
And he seems to have reasonable logic behind everything. I'm sure maybe some people would question the study that he read, maybe, but that's not the topic of what we're talking about. He just seems to be a guy who was doing what he seemed was the best for him. And look how they're talking about him in the media.
Yeah, and I don't think he want to put anyone in danger.
Didn't seem like it.
Yeah, he did his best.
Sure. So it's interesting, right, that if you I don't really understand why, but as soon as you go off of what the mainstream says, then the next minute you become the enemy of the mainstream. And then to make it so political, they said that he needs to talk at the Republican convention. I mean, what's that about?
Okay, I don't know what's that.
I assume that they're saying that if you don't follow the narrative, you're a Republican. Yeah, I don't
label.
I don't get it. It's always labels.
Put some
right?
label.
So I have no idea. I mean, we're not Americans. So I don't understand how that makes sense. But why do your beliefs about yourself have to become some kind of a political thing?
Yeah, I think there's a strategy. Like if you put some label into someone, and for the people, new people just watch this news, they already have some imagination about this guy. So it's hard to rewrite the first impression, right?
Sure. So that to finish this, I then wanted to ask you a question. So I showed you that when the media asked him initially if he'd been vaccinated, and he said he'd been immunized, can you see why he didn't tell them the truth? I mean, what do you guys at home think?
If you couldn't get vaccine, but the media ask you, did you get a vaccine? What would you say?
Yeah, and he was doing...
Look at those media. What would you say?
He was doing something reasonable, but do you think it would have been safe for him to say the truth, to say what he was really doing? I don't think so.
If he said the truth at the time, what will happen?
The same thing that's happening now. It would have just happened earlier.
Yes.
So then we get why he didn't say the real truth, because you can see what happens if you do.
But I think it's also an example for other athletes.
Sure.
I think they do that, not just only for him, but for others. They want to show other people, hey, if you don't get vaccine, that's why we might think about you.
Yeah. So you basically get punished for telling the truth, or get punished for doing what you think is the best thing for you. So then, is this really the way health should work? Healthcare? Should you feel pressured to do what other people think that you should do, otherwise your name gets dragged through the mud?
Yeah, like a witch hunting, right?
Yeah, which is the word he said. It was a witch hunt in the beginning. That's why he said it. But now they want to say he was lying, but we get why. If it's not safe to tell the truth, then...
you'll try to avoid... Yeah, just take another road to say it. Yeah, I can get it. But yeah, he didn't say the truth, but we can get it.
Sure.
Why?
So he did lie. Yeah, he definitely did lie, but we understand why.
Yes.
And I don't think that the way they described him makes logical sense, at least to me.
Yeah, just I think why they have to push people to make some decisions.
I don't know. That's a good question. I have no idea either. Right, should we move to our next topic?
Yeah.
Okay,
sure.
Great.